Hello, good morning, good afternoon, everybody, dear English teachers. So this is a huge community of English teachers in Ecuador, Peru, and also more countries that you are openly. I send my greetings. My name is Andres Rodriguez. I'm from Guayaquil, Ecuador. Well, today in the EFL Teachers interview, we are honorable to have Mr. David White in this 45 minutes interview. Mr. David White has been invited, our special guest, in more uh, seminars, online seminars, and webinars. So he's one of our special guests. No, my friend David, thank you so much for accepting this invitation. How are you
Thank
doing?
you,
I
my
know
friend.
you're busy, and thanks for being here.
How am I? I'm good, actually. I'm very, very good. I'm very, very busy. Um, for those people who don't know me, um, I'm a director of Binational Center and the American School, director of the American School, which is a very large bilingual IB school here in Trujillo. Apart from the being involved in the Binational Center, I also have my own private institute, which is where I am at the moment. Our institute works works 7 days a week. We have classes from 6 o'clock in the morning till about 11 p.m. at night. Both physical, we have a building, plus we have online. I have 23 teachers plus my wife and myself. Plus we have a business called ELT Services, which we supply English materials, present conferences, prepare teacher training, things like that. Apart from other things, we're kind of very busy people, and it's all in the educational field based on English. Do quite a lot of traveling around. Places in Peru. Someone's trying to ring me on my phone. So we have a very busy life, actually. I think our days normally start about 4:30 in the morning and finish about midnight, most days of the week. So we're very lucky with the opportunities that we have. It takes a lot of time and a lot of work, but I've been here in Peru now for 23 years, and I've done a lot of work and even lived in Ecuador, and a lot of work in other countries as well. So that's basically my story in a nutshell. Yes.
Yes, David,
Um,
okay. Yeah, okay. As an anecdote,
about yeah, tell me.
yeah, my friend. So as an anecdote, I was stating that I remember you the first time when you met here in Guayaquil here in Ecuador for our audience that they don't know. David, in that time you were, I'm not sure, you were working, I think, in a like a consultant or you were training, and I saw you in a presentation in the Guayaquil University, you know. So I remember that the the people who organized the committee introduced you, and I saw your presentation, and I remember that after that I saw you in some sessions, okay, in Congress, Copay Institute. Sorry if I name the name of the institution here, but it was very interesting to meet you in some conference. In that time, it was 2015, 2016, yeah, when you were living here in Ecuador, and you were presenting in different cities and towns. So for me, it was
Yeah.
such a great experience to meet you there, my
Well, I
dear
think
David.
My first experience in Ecuador was up at Ibarra. At Ubete was my first experience. But what you're mentioning, the University of Guayaquil, I remember that particular presentation. I was employed by the Minister of Education to do a presentation about new laws and requirements from the government. They wanted me to put them into layman's terms so that people could understand. So I had to study all the laws and then put them into terms that people could understand. That was quite an interesting experience because the government loves to make things confusing. All governments love to make things confusing, and they said, David, could you please make it simple for people to understand? So I did that. And then I repeated it at the Sheraton Hotel, I think, and also down at Manta. I did it down at Manta at the university in Manta. That was interesting. But then I came to Peru as the national academic consultant for a year. Traveled all over all over Ecuador, going to right through the mountains, right up through to the Colombian border, right down to different parts along the coast of Ecuador, presenting many different teacher training presentations about different things. I also represented the University of Trinity, evaluating teachers for their level of English for international exams. So that was quite an interesting year. It was very, very busy. When I finished with that, I went back to Peru, back to my institute, and but I continued to travel for about 3 months a year to Ecuador, where I had responsibilities from before. So I was based between Peru and Ecuador a lot. So yeah, and also we met at APE, which is the Teachers Association in Ecuador. We met there in Guayaquil. That was a very good, a wonderful weekend that we had together.
Yes.
And my wife came because my wife is also a teacher trainer and conference presenter. So she came to the APE event as well. So yeah, I have quite a long association with Ecuador. As I was saying, I'm coming back again in July, bringing some of my clients, and we're going to do a series of presentations at the end of July. So that'll be nice. I think that'll be an advertised event where teachers will be invited to participate. Yeah.
Yes.
About you mentioned about my institute. Well, I started my institute 22 years ago. How do I put this? I am not a classically taught teacher, prepared teacher. I am an accidental teacher. But I find teaching very easy to do. I used to teach in Australia. I was a businessman in Australia, but I used to teach technical studies. But when I came here, people wanted to learn English, so I created my institute, my first institute, which is the one where I am now. And I didn't have a physical presence and there was no online classes. So my teachers, I employed teachers, and they used to go to the big farming communities, the big mining communities, banks, businesses, things like that, business people in their houses. So we had like a mobile sort of setup. I had quite a large team of teachers who used to travel every day and teach, and that was very good. And I made the institute physical back in Yeah, I started it in 2002, I think, 2002. I made it physical in 2017 when I took over a building in the center of the city and created classrooms. But we've been doing online classes as well since about 2012. I think we used to do, what did we have before Zoom? I can't, I can't remember the platform. There was another platform we used to use, but we used to do a lot of teachers in Ecuador and Colombia actually, for their B2s, and we used to teach them online. In the middle of that, we started a second institute here because this institute I'm in is specifically private classes for individuals and groups. People organize their own group or as an individual, and they have private classes. And we teach everything from children to the highest level possible. We go far higher than C2. At the moment, I'm personally teaching what they call the first step, which is your American medical license. I'm teaching a Peruvian teacher how to pass their American medical license, which is basically teaching medicine in English. I'm also teaching a Peruvian lawyer the laws of the European Union, and the history of the laws of the European Union because she wants to go to Spain to study international law and to practice law in the European Union. And I've got engineers teaching engineering English. We do SATs, GREs, GMATs, TOEFLs, IELTS, all that sort of thing, which is the majority of our work is C2 and above sort of work. My wife is one of the teachers. She is Peruvian, but she's now got 4 C2 certificates, and has been recognized by the British government for her level of English. And she's very good. And I have an American Peruvian teacher who was an accountant in America, and I have an American lawyer, American Peruvian lawyer, who's one of my teachers. They gave up law and accountancy and took up the enjoyable profession of teaching. So I have a lot of high-level teachers here who we teach whatever people want, you know. So it makes it very interesting. We have no curriculum, no syllabus. But the other institute we created was general English classes where people could join regular classes. That was completely physical. We had a three piso building. We had 16 classrooms, a very large staff. We had that for about 10 years. And then I sold it to some friends because it's very stressful trying to find students every month. So I got rid of that and just stayed with the private classes. That's basically my experience with my institutes, something I'm very proud of. And then 6 years ago, I was invited to be the director of the National Centre and the school, which is something I'm very happy about. I enjoy very much. I've got several hundred kids. It's a huge responsibility, educating kids. So I enjoy it a lot. Yes. What else would you like to know? That's a mouthful.
No, for the audience, it's very interesting to know more about you, details that they ignore, but it is crucial that they um, know what you do, what you are supporting, that you have traveled in your state. in some places, and well, we already talked about it. So, my friend, regarding to, I remember that I asked you 7 years ago when I was in English Teacher Association, the certificate, the Common European Framework awards the different levels according to the
Mhm.
A1, A2, and you mentioned about it. For English teachers, especially in our countries here in Ecuador, B2 is mandatory. In Peru, exceptionally, I think it is, and in other countries too. So, um, what recommendations would you give to the teachers that they are preparing for more than the getting the diploma or the certificate? What qualities do you think that it's important for teachers to have in order to maintain that ambition of growing up in their level of English? What do you think about that, Fred?
Well, it's very simple. If you had to have surgery on your heart, would you go to a doctor, a surgeon who's only learned half of medicine? No, you wouldn't. You go to a teacher who has learned all about English if you want to learn English. I have a very strict policy on a very strict belief on English. I believe that to teach kindergarten and primary school, you should have a B2. To teach secondary school, you should have a C1, C2 minimum. To teach university, C2 minimum. I believe that should be law. I don't believe that that is a law that should be flexible. I'll tell you why, because in Latin America, 97% of the people who want to travel to other countries to study don't have enough English. 97%. Only 3% are prepared sufficiently. This comes down to a lot. It comes down to motivation when they're little kids. It comes down to how teachers manage classes, how they interact with their students, playing games and things like this, as well as their level of English. For example, I've been to large institutes, I've been into the advanced program, and I listen to all the students, and they all have the same grammar mistakes. So when I talk to the teachers, I find that the teachers have the same grammar mistakes. I mean, there are teachers who still don't know how to use the basic verb to be, and they pass their mistakes upon to their students. Their students go to the advanced program, and eventually some of those students become teachers, and then they pass the same mistakes on to their students. It's For me, it's something it's tough to do. When I first met my wife, she was a B1 level teacher. She now has 4 C2s, a C1, a B2. She's been recognized by the British Council for her, not only her level of English, but her contributions to English. If you talk to my wife, you would think she's an American, but she's not. She's Peruvian. She has done the hard work and the hard mile. She watches television in English. She speaks at home in English. She reads every day in English. She teaches English higher than C2, but she has to work at it all the time. It's like everything. We have to work at it. I myself I have taken virtually all of the international exams. I have taken TOEFL and IELTS. I've taken FCE. I've taken PTE, ECCE, CHI, CPE, TOEFL, IELTS, SAT, GRE, GMAT. I've taken all those exams as a native speaker. The reason I've done that is, number one, just because you're a native speaker doesn't mean that you can speak English well, okay? Because English is something you have to practice. I suppose Sometimes I have native speakers come to my institute asking for a job. And I kind of upset them when I say to them, okay, but I want you to do an English test. I want to test your English. And they say to me, but I'm a native speaker. I shouldn't need a test. And I said, well, I'm sorry, but that's my rules. And I've found less than 20% of native speakers can pass a C2 exam. Less than 80%, less than 20% can pass a C2 exam. So about 80% of natives, especially if they're older, don't have a C2 level of English. It's because it can be their education they had when they were younger. It can be the fact that they don't read anymore, because if you don't use English, you forget English. You forget a lot of the complex words. You make grammar mistakes, things like this. So I don't employ them. If they haven't got a C2, they don't get a job with me, because all my teachers were my students, and all my teachers have C2. That way, they are prepared to teach anybody that walks in my door who want to take up an opportunity. I find it difficult because I have so many students come in here every week, and they'll have a piece of paper, an email, and they'll say, "Oh, look, Mr. White, I've got an opportunity for a scholarship to study here." And the first thing I do is give them an English exam, and I get a placement test. I get their level of English. And you find that more than 90% of them don't have a level of English to meet the level of TOEFL or IELTS or whatever that they need. And I say to them, how long have you got to prepare? Oh, I've got 1 month. And then I have to look at these people and I have to say, I'm sorry, but you can't go. You can't have your opportunity. You can't go to another country. You cannot study and you cannot accept your scholarship. And that's very heartbreaking. And it comes down to the fact that when they were younger, they were just taught English. There was no expectations, no motivation. Kids, even 5-year-old kids, need to understand why they're learning English. You know, I've got kids here at the moment learning English in my institute who are 3 years old because their parents want them to study in other countries. I've got 2 sisters here I've prepared for 6 years to make them native speakers. If you spoke to these 2 kids, one's 14, one's 17, you couldn't tell that they're not natives. But when they first came to me, they couldn't speak English. And in 6 years, I've created native speakers. But it takes a lot of work and a lot of motivation. I'm very fussy about this because as a teacher, I teach teachers and I teach international exams. And I see the results of failure. And the results of failure is heartbreaking. When some level possible, it's important that teachers take themselves, something's wrong here, to the highest level possible so that we prepare students for a world of opportunity. There's over 1 million scholarships a year available in the world. But as I was saying earlier, only 3% have the level of English sufficient to be able to achieve that. And that's very sad. So teachers need to be great motivators and they need to have that C2. They need to aim for that C2. It's like I said, would you want a doctor to work on your heart if he had a B1 level of medicine? Or would you allow an architect to build your house to design your house in an earthquake zone if he had a B1 level in architecture? Would you allow a person to drive an interprovincial bus if he only learned how to ride a motorcycle? It's the same thing. If you want to be a professional, if you want to be respected as a professional, then that right to be respected is in your hands. I know as teachers, we have a lot of work. We have preparation, we have teaching, we have checking, then we have our families, then we have our private life. But let me tell you something, so do lawyers who constantly have to update laws. So do doctors who constantly have to change what they know about uh, medicine, and engineers and things like this. The point is to be a professional is a sacrifice. It doesn't matter what the profession is. And I've been to many countries around the world, and I find the countries where teachers are respected the most, where they earn the most money, where they are truly respected by society, are where teachers respect themselves and their level. Rather than demanding respect, they earn respect by becoming respected, by learning. We can't learn the basics and then sit back and say, I'm a teacher. You have to love me and respect me. It's something that we have to earn. And I've learned that through my own experience. You know, I've always been very, very, very hard on teachers and very, very hard on my students, pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. And I've had unlimited opportunities here in South America I've been offered directorships of many different organizations and universities and things like this for the fact that my attitude, I suppose. I think it's important for teachers, for your self-respect, for your professional development, to push yourself as hard as you can, to read, to study, to do a lot. Many of my students here in my institute are English teachers and they're all trying to achieve a C2 level. You know, they do the B2 in the big institutes, and they come here because I'm the only institute that does C2. And they come here to do their C2 because they want to get better jobs. They want to teach teachers. They want to work in schools of translation, things like this. They want to be coordinators. They want to, instead of just being in classrooms, it's like everything in life, it's in our hands. Our futures, our destinies in our hands. And we have to work hard to achieve it.
Yes, yes, definitely. I agree with you. Well, I know many teachers that they prepare constantly, as in we make sacrifices to achieve those academic goals, linguistic requirements that governments, institutes, and private.
Mhm.
But you know what, David? The best privilege, what you how you feel proud, is not only the paper, the certificate, is what how you use that what you're learning is the language, the key of
Yeah.
success. Because as you mentioned, is exactly what are your careers. So your level of expertise or what you learn is according to your preparation. For example, a pilot, a doctor, an engineer, as they
Mhm.
prepare successfully, so they get more recognition. Yes,
I
similarly,
have the
English teaching.
utmost respect. I have so much respect for teachers who want to be professionals and who study and study and study and want to go further and want to be more independent and things like this. I have so much respect for that, for the fact that I know how hard it is. I myself have to read all the time just to maintain my English. Because if I don't, I lose my English. The English I use in Latin America is very, even though I teach very advanced English, it's a lot lower than what I used to use in my country as a businessman.
I see it.
Um, I mean, I see my wife every night reading and reading and reading. And, you know, in our house, we don't even speak Spanish because our
Oh,
children
really?
speak. No, our children speak English, so we speak English. We watch television in English. We read in English. Now, one of my daughters at the moment is in Australia as a university professor, and she earns thousands of dollars doing that. One of my other daughters is a boss, a supervisor on cruise ships in Europe for very wealthy people. They're cruise ships for 200 people. And she earns a huge amount of money. And she did it because she learned English. Um, she travels the world. She doesn't have to serve people. She supervises, she controls. But she did it, first of all, by learning English and then working hard and maintaining her English and things like this. English opens up so many opportunities. It's amazing. My other daughter is still in university getting her degree, but she teaches in my institute, and she's got a C2, and none of her teachers have a C2. So my daughter has a higher level of English than her um, teachers, and she was born in Peru. She's a Spanish speaker. So I mean, they all had to learn English as well. So there's so many rewards when you learn English.
Yes, especially, I remember when you are a student and you have you're dreaming and you say, okay, I want to travel, I need to explore a new culture, I need to, okay, I just simply want to know have a different life. So you need to connect with the culture, with the language, with the country, different aspects of the language that you need to know. So it's important that people uh, they are aware about that studying a language is permanently. You're constantly connecting to the real world that you have. So I think that
Well,
one of the problems that people in general know that they have is that they don't see in a big picture how learning a language and particularly English can impact in their lives. So no, that's not only to learn a language, is that it opens doors and make it more opportunities, no?
I talk a lot to the children in my school um, about why they should learn English and the benefits. Sometimes I bring my old students in to talk to the kids in the school. When my students return from other countries or they're home for vacations, I invite them to the school to speak to the students about their experiences of learning English and how they were able to travel to other countries to study, to get their degrees, and then to eventually live in those other countries and to have a very high quality job, very high quality life because of the fact that they learned English. It's the motivation. It's like, you know, it's like this is a mouse, right? This is a mouse. You can see it from my computer. But if you don't have a computer, the mouse has no purpose. And you don't know that you need it. But then one day you get a laptop and, oh my God, or a computer, and oh my God, I need a mouse. It's like you don't know what you need until you have the opportunity to need it. Um, learning, learning, and whether it's mathematics or English or anything, is an investment. in your future because you never know what your future holds. You may have plans, but you never know for sure what it holds. Now, by educating our kids and motivating our kids to be educated, and that's a big part of being a teacher is motivation, then they are prepared for that opportunity when it comes. You know, I've seen kids come to me with opportunities to study in Harvard and Yale, the London School of Economics, some of the best universities in the world, and they couldn't go because they never studied enough English. Now, if they'd got to study in those places, those universities, they would have changed their not only their lives, but their children's lives and their grandchildren's lives, because it's a follow-on effect. You know, you learn in a university like that, you earn a lot of money. You are then able to give a better life to your children, educate them better. And when they get educated better, then your grandchildren get educated better because everybody earns more money. This is what we don't teach the kids. We don't teach this reality. I've been very lucky because I've never taught anything less than B2. I've
Mhm.
always been a B2 to C2 or above teacher. Not by choice, but by demand. This is what people have always demanded of me. Um, so I've seen the end result of good English, and I've seen the disasters that are caused by bad English, because that's what I do. Um, and it's heartbreaking. It absolutely breaks your heart when you have to look a young person straight in the face and say, I'm sorry, but you can't have that scholarship. You don't have enough English. I remember one person came in one day and said, oh, well, I'll find another teacher. And I shook that person's hand and I said to them, if you can find a teacher better than me who can prepare you in 1 month, I said, I shook their hands. I said, I will give you $10,000. I guarantee you, shake my hands. So if you fail, you've got to give me $10,000. But if you pass, I will give you $10,000. And that's when the reality comes in, because nobody's willing to lose $10,000 on a dream. You know, I live in the real world. I don't live in the dream world, and my students live in the real world. Um, this is why we as teachers are so important, our ability to not just to teach, but to motivate our students, to be creative, to, you know, everything that we need to make education successful and important.
Yes, of course, my friend. Yeah, so the points that you have remarked, and I think that they're very clear, and the examples you said that how students, understand the reality we use in the language. I think that they are very, very important.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, my friend. In this interview, uh, as I told you, we are seeing different aspects, okay, of your life, of the place where you work. Now, in this moment, my friend, can you talk about what are your hobbies and the thing that you like to spend? We know that you have family, and you mentioned
Mm-hmm.
that it's sometimes we make sacrifices because when we achieve our dreams. So even though we spend time together with the family when with the beloved people, no? So how do you enjoy your free time, my friend?
I watch TV. and I read. I read, and I do a bit of traveling. When I was younger, I traveled the world. I've ridden motorcycles around countries. I've backpacked. I've been all over the world in my life. My previous life before I came here, I was a business owner. I always owned multiple businesses, and that gave me the freedom to travel and see the world. So I used to always travel with a backpack full of books to read and traveled to many different places. That's how I first came to Peru. Um, Here in Peru, I suppose I get a lot of enjoyment out of what I do professionally. Probably more than I ever did out of any business I own, because here as a teacher, I get to affect people's lives. I can change people's lives. For example, I have a child at the moment I'm preparing. He's 16. His family is very poor, but he's very intelligent. So I teach him for free. And I'm organizing a scholarship for him to study in English, but in Spain, because he has an auntie in Spain. Now, that is something that gives me enormous satisfaction because nobody else is going to teach him for free. And when I teach him and he gets to study in another country, then he could become a positive influence in the world. That's what I'm hoping. But I do a lot of students for free. I have over the years, many, many students. That's one of my hobbies, is to see the results of my students. But I suppose my biggest hobby is family time, spending time with my family, because we're busy people. We work day and night I get up at 4:30 in the morning. We go to bed at midnight. Um, Sundays is our day where we do our things and we go out and enjoy ourselves, or just watch a movie marathon or read or something like that. Spend time with our daughter or daughters, depends who's in Peru at the time. Last Sunday, I spent Father's Day with two of my daughters, but two of my other daughters were in other countries. Um, I suppose for me, it's just spending time with my girls. That's my great thing. My wife and I have been together for many years. We love to talk. We've never had an argument, not once, in all of our years together, because we love to sit and talk with each other. That's one of my great hobbies. Talk about life, talk about our week, talk about our family, things like that. Read books together. Because Sunday becomes a day where we need to to sit down and physically release, because our lives are very busy and physical. It's a day where we get to just sit and do whatever we want to do. My daughter and I often cook together because I love to cook, things like that. Or we might go out to an area where kids play, a play area type thing. It depends. And I still enjoy traveling. I'm going to, travel. I have quite a bit of travel this year. I often take my girls with me because Claudia often presents conferences with me. So we travel as a family and do things as a family when we travel. But it's mainly family things for me these days, family things and travel. Yeah. What about you, my friend? What do you do for your relaxation time? Because you're a busy fella too. You're a very busy guy.
Yeah, exactly. So you know that um, to run an academy, to be face to face with people, demands a lot of energy, a lot of time, a lot of things to do. No, so I think that it's important to relax in different ways. For example, well, in my case, I try to practice a sport or hanging around with music. I love music, so enjoying with a specific time on weekends. I try to particularly enjoying that way. I feel relaxed with music. I love it too. Um, so I combine because you know that from Monday to Saturday's morning, it's already hard, you know, to
Mhm.
demand some time that you will spend when you work, no? So I think the same like you. So I think it depends. Or on weekends to be with the family, okay? Because
Yes.
you feel love, no? You feel love, and that's good too.
But family is very important. I mean, if you don't look after your family, then why are you working? Really, I mean, if you don't look after yourself, if you don't look after your family, then uh, why are you working? I mean, your personal health is so important, and the health of your relationships with your family and your friends and things like this are all very important. And in this day and age where we're all so busy, we don't always get enough time to do that sort of thing. So yeah, good.
Yes, yes, my friend. So it's important to agree with the time that we spend with relaxation and the work we do. My
Hmm.
friend, finally, I will ask you something about so well, your plans. You already mentioned at the beginning that you will probably be in July by some conferences. So
Hmm.
can you explain in details? So what are you thinking to do about it?
Well, I'm waiting for all the details from the invitation because I'm being invited to uh, Ecuador. We're going to do a series of workshops, Claudia and myself, or plenaries and workshops. And then we're going to travel around to some different schools, talk to teachers, I think, see how different schools do different schools and different institutes, I suppose. I'm not sure of the exact arrangements, but see how they do different things. Because sometimes it's very good to see how your peers operate, to see the difference. It's a great way of learning, actually, to learn from your peers. Um, Sometimes we can see little things that we learn. When you give conferences like I do, and we share our experiences, and people learn little things from us that help them to improve. And that's what we're trying to do when we come to Ecuador or wherever we travel to. But like I said, apart from the presentations, we're going to visit educational institutions, see teachers working, and share and learn. Even I learn something new all the time
Yeah.
from watching different teachers. At the where I where I'm the director, between the institute and the school, we have more than 200 teachers, 240 teachers, I think, something like that. And sometimes you can just stand in the back of the classroom and watch, and you learn something from somebody who's only 23 or 24 years old. Um, Something I learned many, many years ago, was just because you sit behind the desk and you have a title doesn't make you the smartest person in the world. What makes you the smartest person is to learn from the people who are around you. Um, it's arrogant to think that we're the best. It's arrogant to think that we can't learn anything. So something I'm looking forward to when I come to Ecuador, apart from sharing with other teachers, is to actually visit educational institutions and see what I can learn too. Because then that makes me a better teacher.
Okay, in the name of the English teachers in Ecuador, I think that we are so proud to have you here, and you are so welcome in the different cities and the places where you are going to see, my friend. I hope to see you. I'm not sure about if you come to Guayaquil or well places that it would be surrounded, but I will try to. In just in case you let me know, I will be there.
I will let you know. It's going to be on the coast near Guayaquil where I'm coming, so I will let you know so that we can arrange an invitation or something for you. All right? It'll be wonderful to see you again.
Great, great. Sounds good. Sounds great, David. So, well, so to experience, to lead to exchange different opinions, to exchange experience is always great, no? For teachers when they we permanently learn and we go to or attend to different seminars or scenarios where we can improve, no?
Yes.
So,
All right,
okay.
my friend. That was wonderful. It's been such a great honor to have a chat with you. Uh, I hope we get to do it again very shortly because it's always a pleasure.
Yeah, I just recently went to tell you, my friend, that it was a pleasure to have you here in this interview. And well, some teachers that I know that they interact with you in the different I think in Facebook you have some C1, B2 pages, no? Where you
Mhm.
share materials, no? It was wonderful, my friend. I'm so glad to read you, know. I try to read you every time that I can too, because I learn from the material that you exchange with us, no? Thank you so much, my friend, for being here.
Wonderful.
And well, my best wishes for your accomplishment and your institute and your plans. Hope to see you
Thank you very
in the
much, my
future.
friend. And the same for you. Good luck and God bless with everything and for everybody. Okay? Good luck with
Okay,
your
have
teaching.
have a nice weekend. Bye bye,
You
everybody.
too.
Have a good time.
Okay.
See you.
Take care. Thank you, everybody. Take care. Bye.